Okay, about a week ago, I did a ceramic coating shootout between Carbright, Naciol ZR53, and Crystal Serum Light from G-Technic. You guys can see my car is taped off. It's been 1 week. This car has not been exposed to like water, the elements, nothing. It's had a week to cure and all that sort of stuff. I wanted to wait about that long because I just wanted this to be a really good test. So now that I did kind of the shootout, comparing them, and kind of came to the conclusion that I really do like the Naciol ZR53 as an overall, like all around coating the best. We're doing a torture test and I want to see how resistant these ceramic coatings are to literal chemicals. So let's do this. Before I do anything, I'm just gonna back the car out, wash it off, and do it really lightly, really gently. Make sure I don't affect the coating, but I just wanna get the surface dirt off of the car before we start. I'm gonna bring you guys in a bit closer now that it's clean. I just want you guys to see how the water beads up initially before we do anything. This is just what the water beading looks like with all three of these ceramic coatings a week later after they've had plenty of time to cure. So this is just a good kind of a reference point for the rest of the video. So here's what it looks like. Okay, so this is how this is going to go. This is Meguiar's all-purpose cleaner diluted 10:1. I have a bottle of super clean degreaser diluted 5:1. And then we're going to use a sort of Iron X product. And I just wanna see, after I use each of these products on each of these panels, how much do the ceramic coatings break down, if any? Which ones last to the end? And basically, in the real world, you would never put this kind of product on top of a coating, and this is why I don't do a lot of torture tests, because I just don't think it makes sense. But the reason I'm doing it is because these 3 coatings in particular say that they're chemically resistant up to like pH 13, which is so ambiguous, and it's not a knock on the coating, it's just like, what does that mean exactly? Like, because these coatings say they're chemically resistant up to a higher pH, this is just a way of saying, okay, these regular cleaners that I use, would these destroy the coating or can the coating withstand it? So I'm gonna spray every coating on each of the panels, wipe it off very simply, and then we're gonna do a water test. So again, on this first panel is Naciol ceramic coating ZR53. On this second one is Carbright, their Black Pearl. And the third one is G-Technic Crystal Serum. So I'll just let it sit for a second. Then I take my microfiber towel and very simply, I'm just going to wipe it off. Okie doke, let's do a little bit of a water test now that the Meguiar's APC 10:1 has been applied and wiped off. What happens when I'm going to use the pressure washer on these coatings? Okay, now the G-Technic. All right, right, they all three seem to be performing basically just as good as they did in the beginning. All right, moving on. So I have a new microfiber towel and super clean degreaser diluted, probably more like 4 to 1, so it's a little bit stronger and probably more purple than you usually see it in my bottles. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I am going to spray it on each panel, although this time I'm gonna use a little bit more than I used of the Meguiar's APC, and I am going to let it sit for like, say, I don't know, 60 seconds. So far, I can say this. It is very impressive to me that each one of these coatings basically was totally unfazed by the Meguiar's APC 10 to 1. It's not the strongest cleaner in the world. It's not the strongest cleaner I have, but I, was spraying it like crazy, and again, totally unaffected. It's like, that's a good sign, okay? So you guys see I'm saturating it, all right? So there's no dispute. So let's let it sit for like 60 seconds. By the way, people always ask me, am I wearing a calculator watch? And yes, I am. And is it hard to use? Yeah, my fingers are way too big for these little buttons, but sometimes I gotta calculate on the go, you know what I'm saying? Okay, 60 seconds is up, and I'm gonna wipe it off, /in, just like I did the other time. Another thing to note with these torture tests, and this is a variable that you can't really account for. Let's just say the Meguiar's all-purpose cleaner weakened the coating at some level. Well, it's not a totally fair thing to do a torture test like this and like a lot of us do on YouTube, because let's say the coating was weakened by the first cleaner. Well, that means it's already kind of, vulnerable to a point with the second cleaner. So again, it's like, not that I'm saying these are not good things to do, but that is kind of a variable that you just can't account for. The other thing I would like to say that's very important is sometimes these cleaners leave a sort of residue, and so to go straight from here to the water test is not always that fair, because you actually have this chemical residue that's hindering the surface tension, basically. It's hindering the ability for it to bead up, and so probably a more accurate thing to do would be to spray this off, wipe it down again just with water, then follow up and do the bead test. But because these ceramics are so obviously beading, I'm not doing that. But if you're doing this at home, that's going to give you more accurate results. Okay, second water bead test. Let's do this. Okay, they all seem to be beading. Gosh, I mean, I don't think I see any difference still. I mean, maybe if you're splitting hairs, maybe there's a bit more water left on the paint here, maybe a bit less surface tension, so the beads are not quite as effective, but and you can see those beads fall right off. All right, there's the super clean 5 to 1 results. Again, I'm thinking basically, gosh, unaffected. I'm going unaffected. Okay, this is gonna be more interesting. Okay, so thus far, Meguiar's all-purpose cleaner 10 to 1, super clean 5 to 1. I am saying, bam, final answer. Ceramic coatings these three tend to be unaffected, okay? This is an iron remover. It's not Iron X. It's from a company called Renegade. I've used it a ton in the past. I just never really, I think I've shown it on the channel a couple times, but I never really shown it on the channel that much for no other reason other than I just didn't think about it that much. But this is a great iron remover. I'm going to spray it onto the pan. I'm gonna keep my mask on. I'm gonna leave this on for a little bit more than just a minute and really let it sit in. I'm gonna try to kind of rub it in. I'm imagining that an iron remover is going to affect the coating, but point being is, if it doesn't, This is gonna be impressive, okay? So I'm just gonna spray it on here, put my mask on because this stuff sprays like, it's just crazy strong and it makes me wanna puke my brains out. So here we go. I can't find my mask, so I'm just putting my shirt over my nose. I do not suggest this. Do not do this at home. Do this in an open environment. Do not do this in a closed environment, okay? I'm a crazy person, that's why I'm doing this. Here we go. Okay, I've let it sit for, say, 2 minutes or so. One of the things with these ceramic coatings, these traditional ceramic coatings that we're testing right now, is one of the reasons why they would be chemically resistant at a high level is because they repel water in the first place. And all of these chemicals have some, they're water-based, That's how chemical companies do this. They make kind of a concentration, and then they mix it with water, and then they sell it by the gallon, by the 32 ounce, whatever. So, because these coatings repel water, they're also going to repel the cleaners at a level. So, it's like part of the protection is just the fact that the cleaner is going to beat up and more or less fall off the paint. It's not going to have its, time to actually do stuff, So, here we go. No games. Final water test. All right, here you go. You can kind of see that one more time. Okay, conclusion after all of this. Have the coatings broken down to a level where they're no longer beating water at a significant enough level for me to be able to tell a difference between what it looks like right now and what it looked like initially. Honestly, I don't think so. I wanted to be able to say yes and say that one would end up breaking down and like one would come out on top, but I'm trying to figure out, like, it looks the same. Okay, what I want to do lastly, and I thought about this, I was like, am I going to do this or am I not going to do this? I'm going to use Meguiar's wheel brightener diluted 5:1, and I'm going to spray it all over this paint because that is an acidic wheel cleaner that is particularly strong, and you're not supposed to get it on glass, so I'm going to be very careful, but you can put it on paint. I'm not suggesting you do that, but I want to do that as a final test just to see if I can knock one of these out. So here we go, Meguiar's wheel brightener 5:1. I'm going to let it sit for 60 seconds, and we'll do a water test. Moment of truth after the Meguiar's wheel brightener diluted 5:1 has been applied, left to sit for 60 seconds, and wiped off. Here we go. Okay, this is honestly really awesome that this is still beating at the level that it's beating, and you guys can see, I'm looking through the camera and I'm looking in person. I wish you guys could see this in person because it's definitely more powerful in person, but honestly, has it broken down a little bit? If I'm gonna split hairs, it has broken down a little bit. Each one has broken down just, it's like, I even hesitate to say that. I almost just want to go, oh my gosh, it looks just like it did after the initial application, because can you actually see if anything is different? I mean, it doesn't even look like it unless, again, I'm starting to split hairs and I can see, okay, the surface tension has lowered, the beads aren't as tight. I can see, particularly on the G-Technic side and the Nasiol side, it's taking a little bit longer for some of these beads to fall off. The Carbrite side, maybe this is a good thing. The Carbrite side seems to be the most intact to me. Okay, sorry, close my legs. Short shorts, man. It's hot in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, this definitely seems to be the most intact side, the Carbrite side right here. Here's the Nasiol, and here is the G-Technic. But again, it's like, I'm just splitting hairs. They all look fantastic. This is after Meguiar's APC 10-to-1, Super Clean 5-to-1, Iron X, not diluted at all. It's not Iron X, but it's a iron remover from Renegade. And then Meguiar's Wheel Brightener diluted 5-to-1. And they really do just look incredible. So I think those results speak for themselves. All right, I want to show you guys the bottle once again. This one is G-Technic, their Crystal Serum Light. Great ceramic coating. This is Carbrite Black Pearl. You actually can't get your hands on this. I just have particular connections in the automotive world, and that's how I was able to get this. And then you got the Nasiol ZR53, which in my opinion right now is kind of like the best all-around ceramic coating for anyone who's wanting to do it for the first time, or even an expert. It just kind of works for everybody. I think, again, these results speak for themselves. I'd like to reiterate the point of a video like this is to say, okay, after a week, after I applied it, a week of curing time for all three of these ceramics, how resistant are they really to some of these chemicals? Well, not only are they resistant to each chemical, but they're resistant to each chemical after the other. So there's plenty of time in this sequence for these ceramics to break down, and they didn't, right? It's like, shouldn't the Meguiar's APC weaken it a little bit, and then the Super Clean really go in for the kill, and then the Iron X just wipe it out altogether? It's like all of this combination of products being applied here, you'd think, oh my gosh, 4 different products being applied and wiped on and wiped off. It's like, of course it's gonna break down, but it didn't. It still looks, in my opinion, like the initial water beading test after I just cleaned it. That speaks a lot to all 3 of these products, and that's kind of why I do a torture test like this. It's like, all of these are still looking amazing, and I sprayed these crazy serious chemicals, and so there's something to be said about ceramic coatings. Some people really don't like them, or they're like, it's just hype. It's like, maybe some of that is hype, but I don't know. It's like, this just happened, so it can't be just hype. Anyway, amazing ceramic coatings. I'm gonna hook up all of them in the YouTube description box below. Of course, I will hook up Amazon links to the cleaners that I used here as well. If you wanna check out any of that stuff, use my links, because it does give this channel a very small commission, but it just helps me to continue putting out content. So if you love everything auto detailing, consider subscribing to the Wilson Auto Detailing channel. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I'll see you guys in the next video.